How many editions of the diary are there, and where can you find them? The first articles by Professor Papachadzis, with excerpts from Dienach's diary, came out in print in 1966 in Parnassus Literature Magazine, issue 1966A, the most important literature magazine published by the most distinguished literary organization of Greece, Parnassus Literary Society. In 1972, while Greece was entering the hardest phase of the 7-year dictatorship, George Papachadzis decided to publish Dienach's diary for the first time under the title The Valley of Roses. Strong disputes and protests from certain church circles who considered the book heretic, and the fall of the dictatorship a year later condemned the first edition to oblivion. No one was particularly interested in the future when the present was so intense and violent. Fortunately, there is a copy of this first 2-volume publication available in the National Library of Greece. Another edition followed in 1979 in Greece titled The Valley of Roses. However, the book disappeared and it was hardly mentioned again apart from the few that knew of its existence. Nowadays, only a few lucky Greeks have this old edition in their private libraries. After all the silence, Papachadzis died, and his family did not wish to carry on with his work. 22 years passed before the diary was picked up again by the independent publisher Radamanthis Anastasakis, who decided to republish the original diary on a small scale in 2000. This edition is currently available in a few small bookstores of Athens. Chronicles from the Future is the first and only English translation of the original first edition of Dienach's diary. It was published on November 2015 as a Kindle e-book and on March 2016 as a printed book. Both are available worldwide on Amazon. Does this book have literary merit? No, it doesn't. Being an actual diary, it was not written as a novel or a linguistic masterpiece. So the readers should be prepared for that and must not expect a sci-fi novel. Its writer, Paul Dienach, was not an author, poet, or professional writer. Rather, he was an ordinary man who kept a journal, never with the expectation that it would be published. Actually, the way he writes is proof of the genuineness of this memoir. Why did the diary need editing? The difficult language and the rough style of Dienach's notes, which mixed together elements of his past along with his experience of the future, made the diary very difficult to understand. Only a few had the time and patience to decode the secret knowledge that lay encoded within almost 1,000 pages. When I discovered the book for the first time, I started to restore it without the sentimentalities that kept Papachadzis from doing something more than an exact translation of the holy scripts of his teacher. Almost a century after the original diary was written, this was a task that had to be undertaken so that a 21st century reader could really understand what a 20th century man wanted to say. I wanted to make sure that any reader will be able to focus on the diary's quite astonishing content. And so I did it making sure not to change any of the content, but filtering out irrelevant notes pertaining to Dienach's early life and emphasizing his experience of the future, but in a simpler language and without the gaps that Dienach's narration had. I have tried to keep the true essence of his story intact. This was my debt to Dienach, whose Chronicles from the Future completely changed my perspective of life. Nothing more, nothing less. My only goal was to make it accessible to all of you, because if Dienach's experience was indeed real, this book contains revolutionary information, something the Masons clearly recognized, and has the potential to radically change your view of the world and mankind. So, is this a true story or not? It is an intriguing and controversial story indeed. We have to once more clarify that this publication is not a novel, but a translation of a man's diary, and as a diary, it is by default listed as a non-fiction. It is up to the reader's judgment to decide whether it reflects real facts or not. But if you read the book, you will see that any proof you need lies within the words. Moreover, if you read into this book, you will understand its essence. It honestly doesn't matter if it is fact or fiction. The truth is, it's incredibly beautiful and depicts a global society worth making our goal. This is the most optimistic and completely feasible outcome of our future that will fill your soul with joy and hope at a time when there is little to hope for.